Hello everyone. Our today's topic is how to find the relative frequency. So at the end of this lecture, you will be able to find the relative frequency if you are given with the frequency of any score, and you will also learn why do we need to find the relative frequency. As we have seen in our previous lecture that how to find the cumulative frequency, you can see the link in the information above that will be helpful for you as well. So here we have a table in which the first two columns are showing the frequency distribution, that is how many of the students have got a score. If we see at the row that is the score of 10, if I'm pointing, if I write here, I'm pointing to this row. Here the score is represented by X, frequency by F, and the relative frequency by RF. So what we need, what we should have to find the relative frequency is the frequency, and the frequency will be evaluated from the score. That is that will be given that how many times that score occurs or how many students have got that score. That will be the frequency. So here we have in the first column we have a score that is 10, 9, 8, 7 and up to 2. And in the second column we have the frequency, that how many students have got the score of 10, that is 2 students. How many students have got a score of 9, that is 2 students. How many students have got a score of 8, that is 5 students, and so on. So this is the frequency distribution table. So whenever you are going to find the relative frequency, you should have these values. Now we move towards the relative frequency table. I usually refer to the relative frequency as it is much related to the percentage. That I will tell you in the next few lectures. But if you know how to find the relative frequency, it will be easier to relate the relative frequency to the percentage. So let's see how we can find the relative frequency. First we will see the row number. If I write here, this is the row number 1, this is 2, and so on. So in the row number 1, we have a score of 10 and the frequency of 2. The most important thing is first we have to calculate the total frequency. That is very important. So here the total frequency will be the sum of all the given frequencies, that is 2 plus 2 4 plus 5 9 plus 3 12, 12 plus 7 19, 20, 25. So I will write here that sum of frequencies will be equals to 25. So you can say there were total 25 students who have taken the test. So whenever we need to find the relative frequency, we should have the total frequency so that we can easily find. So for finding the relative frequency for the row 1 or for the frequency that is 2 out of 25, so we have the formula. If I write here, that is 2 divided by 25, that will be equals to 0.08. And one important thing about relative frequency is that its value will always be less than 1. Its value will always be less than 1. So it's 0.08. Then we have to do what? We have to move to the next row, that is row number 2, that is the score of 9 and the frequency of 2. Again we have to write here as 2 divided by 25. Again it's the same, that is 0.08. Then in the next row, we have the third row, we have a score of 8 and the frequency of 5. Again we have to do what? We have to divide this frequency, that is 5, by the total frequency, that is 25. It will be equals to, then we have the fourth row, that is the score of 7 with a frequency of 3. Again the same thing, that is you have to divide the frequency, that is 3, by 25, and it will be equals to 0.12. So all these values are less than 1. Similarly, we will move to the next row, that is the row 5 with the score of 6 and the frequency of 7. So we will have 7 divided by 25. It will be equals to 0.28. Then we have a sixth row with the score of 5 and a frequency of 1, and it will be again 1. So it will be 1 divided by 25, that will be equals to 0.04. Then we have the next row, that is 7. I'm writing this row just for your ease, otherwise there is no need of writing this. So the row 7 is the score of 4, that is attained by the 4th student, that is the frequency of 4. Then their relative frequency will be 4 divided by 25, that will be equals to 0.16. Then we have the 8th row, that is the score of 3, that is attained by no 1, that is the frequency of 0. So anything divided by anything that is divided by 0 will be 0. So we need not to write here, but I'll write for your ease like 0 divided by 25 is equals to 0. Then we have the last row, that is the row number 9 with a score of 2 and the frequency of 1. There is only one student who have got a score of 2. So its relative frequency will be 1 divided by 25. That will be equals to 0.04. 0.04. So if you add all these relative frequency together, if I write here for your ease as the sum of the relative frequencies, it will be equals to 1. So this is a property of the relative frequencies. It's all in the points and it's always less than 1. But when you sum the relative frequencies of the whole set, it will be equals to 1. Now, this is how we can calculate the relative frequency. But why do we need to calculate the relative frequency? As we see in our previous lecture, why do we need to calculate the cumulative frequency? Similarly, I am going to tell you why you need to calculate the relative frequency. It's a question for you to understand why do we need to find the relative frequency. That is, what proportion or ratio or fraction of the group attained each score. When you will be asked such question, that if you are given with the score of a class with the frequencies and you will be asked to find what proportion or ratio or fraction of the group attained each score, then you need to find the relative frequency. That will tell you what is the fraction of the total that has attained the certain score. For example, if we take the row number 1, here we have a score of 10 and the frequency of 2. So we just know, from this we just know that only 2 students have attained a score of 10. But if we need to tell in terms of ratio or fraction or proportion, part out of whole, then you need a relative frequency. So if I write here that this is a part, that is 2 students have got the marks of 10 out of 25. So this is a part and this is the whole. So here it resembles the percentage that I have told you in the very start, that it's somewhat relative to the percentage, except there is what missing here is the 100. If you multiply it with 100, you will get the percentage. So part out of whole, that is the ratio or the fraction or the proportion. So when you need to find this, then you can easily tell this by using the relative frequency, that 0.08 fraction or ratio in terms of 2 by 25 or proportion of this group. It means the group of if you say 25, there were 25 students, the group of 25 students, out of the group of 25 students, 0.08 proportion of the students have got a marks of 10. Then out of 25 students, in terms of proportion, you say only 0.08%, 0.08 fraction or ratio or proportion of this group have got the score of 9, and so on. So this is the basically use of relative frequency, that will tell you the proportion, the ratio, the fraction of the group that is achieving a certain score. So that's all from today's lecture. Thank you.